We are funding projects through the Substance Use and Addictions Program, which provides time-limited funding for innovative, evidence-informed projects. We're also working to improve access to mental health services, particularly for young people, and this is close to my heart, not just as minister, but as a mom to teenage daughters. Additionally, the supplementary estimates propose $7.5 million to support Kids Help Phone. This will allow them to continue to provide 24/7 access to bilingual mental health supports for youth over the next 3 years. The Public Health Agency is also receiving $1.9 million in new funding for the Mental Health for Black Canadians Fund to support development of culturally focused knowledge capacity and Black-led programs to improve mental health for Black Canadians.
Thank you, Minister. And we will begin now with rounds of questions, starting with the Conservatives. Ms. Goodridge, please, for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to the Minister for being here and agreeing to stay for a full hour. Very quickly, have you believed that decriminalization has been successful in British Columbia?
Thank you, Chair. The only person, or I would say party, that's preoccupied with decriminalization is really the opposition. When we chose to embark...
We have a tradition in this committee, as you're well aware, that the length of time you get to answer is approximately the length of time that the person took to ask the question. So has decriminalization been successful in Canada, yes or no?
Again, Chair, it seems only the opposition is preoccupied with national decriminalization. We work with jurisdictions as per their request.
So the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police and British Columbia's Association of Chiefs of Police have both pulled their support from this failed Liberal program and policy. Will you say that it is a success, yes or no?
I had the opportunity to speak with the CICP directly, and we are all in agreement that all tools are needed to address the toxic drug supply.
Will you rule out rolling out this failed policy anywhere else in Canada?
I commit to always working with jurisdictions with both their health and community safety measures to ensure that we're reaching people who are struggling with addiction.
This is a failed policy that has caused carnage. We are seeing 22 people die every single day across Canada due to the overdose crisis, and your government is failing. Why will you not rule out expanding this failed program?
Mr. Chair, it seems that the Conservatives are big on outrage, but not so great on when it comes to work and evidence. We continue to work with provinces and territories, as health is their jurisdiction, as is law enforcement, to ensure that a full suite of tools and measures are there to save lives and get people health care, which is what they need.
So will you rule out rolling this failed policy to anywhere else in Canada?
I commit, as always, to work with every province and territory in their jurisdictions working on healthcare and collaborative law enforcement, because that is what they are asking us to do. I don't think the federal government should be dictating to provinces and territories what is their jurisdiction.
The BC Association of Chiefs of Police have pulled their support for this failed policy. Public safety is at serious odds due to this failed policy. Why will you not pull your support and end this now?
So Fiona Wilson, who's the president of the BC Association of Chiefs of Police, said herself that we need a balance between community safety and health care. This is what we've committed to in working with jurisdictions to ensure people get help and health care.
All right.
It needs a balance.
Thanks. I'm going to move on to something a little different. We know that Canada has become a major producer of fentanyl in this country as a direct result of your government failing to do anything when it comes to banning precursors for fentanyl. What are the timelines for actually banning these precursors so that fentanyl is not being produced here?
So unfortunately, the Conservatives are misleading Canadians, because the fact is that Canada is a world leader in precursor regulation and scheduling of precursor chemicals. As a matter of fact, we have a class scheduling system, which means that we not only look at individual chemicals, but classes, so that we can be nimble and flexible in the face of an illegal toxic drug supply.
So about 6 months ago, we had BC RCMP Assistant Commissioner Will Nigg come to committee, and he said that they've been advocating to government for the last 2 years. So it's now 2.5 years to have these deadly precursors banned in Canada, and yet 80% of them are still completely unregulated. Why?
So yet again, Chair, the member is misleading Canadians because precursor chemicals are found in the things that we use daily, whether it's plastic, rubber, paint supplies, and so on. This is why they must be scheduled and regulated, which is something that we do on a regular basis. And again, have a world-class system that works in collaboration with the United States and international partners.
Okay, well, at the SECU committee, the RCMP Commissioner Duhaime confirmed that Canada is a net exporter of fentanyl. Does that not concern you? Are you not applying every single tool in the toolkit to make sure that Canada is not exporting fentanyl?
I'm absolutely committed that we use every tool in the toolkit. These are questions to be asked of the Public Safety Minister. As I said, we schedule and regulate, but working across departments and working with border services and with our U.S. counterparts is critical.
So what are you doing to advocate to the Minister of Public Safety, who now has multiple hats, when it comes to banning these precursors?
So just to be clear, when it comes to precursors, they're essential. The precursors that are essential for making fentanyl are already restricted and prohibited. So
But
again,
we're a
the
net
member is
exporter of
misleading.
fentanyl. We're an absolute net exporter of fentanyl. We are having massive drug busts every single day. So the next question is, do you support the Prime Minister or Chrystia Freeland?
Mr. Chair, I don't believe that question is relevant to my
I think it's very
portfolio
relevant.
today.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
Move on,
I
please.
think it's very relevant. Do you support the Prime Minister?
Yes.
Point of order, Chair.
You have a point of order from Ms. Kayabaga.
I think we should stick to the intended discussion of the meeting, and so Mrs. Goodrich could stick to the relevant message. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree, unless you can tie the question to the estimates, it really is out of line. So you have about 16 seconds left, Ms. Goodrich, go ahead.
We're hearing that there's going to be a cabinet shuffle later this week. Are you still going to be the
Point of
Minister
order,
of Mental
Chair.
Health and Addiction?
Point of order. I'm sorry. Let's move on.
The same point, I take it?
Yes.
Do you wish to answer that, Minister?
Sure. I don't deal in hypotheticals, as the member well knows, and I've been asked to appear as the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions today to answer your question, and that's my intention.
Okay,
So-
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Thank you, Ms. Goodrich. Next, Dr. Ellis, please, for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thanks, Minister, for being here. There's a statement, alcohol is a leading preventable cause of death, disability, injuries, accidents, and social problems. Do you believe that, Minister, to be true?
I think that alcohol is a substance that unfortunately is used by too many across this country without an understanding of what the health impacts of it are. We continue to do that work in prevention and education through the Public Health Agency of
Minister,
Canada.
I'm not asking you some trapped question here. That's from the Canadian Guidance on Alcohol and Health, the final report. It's a simple question. Do you believe that alcohol is a leading preventable cause of death, disability, injuries, accidents, and social problems?
I believe that abuse of alcohol consumption can be detrimental to one's health.
Wow, okay, I can see the game you want to play today, which is very sad on behalf of Canadians, Minister. You know, the other thing that's incredibly sad is that your government put forward a temporary tax trick on Canadians, which included removing temporarily for 2 months the GST on beer, wine, and ready-to-drink alcoholic drinks. How did that make you feel, Minister, when that came across your desk?
The GST tax break for Canadians was meant to address and does address affordability concerns that many Canadians across the country have shared with us. And in responding to that and listening to Canadians, particularly during the holiday season, we wanted to ensure that they were able to have a break during this time in the holiday season when they're gathering to celebrate.
But Minister, your government is promoting, by reducing the price, consumption of alcohol. Is that not true?
The GST tax break is for Canadians to make the choice of what goods they wish to purchase to enhance their holiday season.
I guess what I would say to you, though, Minister, the member from Canada Carleton made an interesting video quite clearly encouraging Canadians to drink alcohol, showcasing a bottle of wine. Is that not true?
I do believe the leader of the opposition has been in multiple videos grabbing a beer with folks and promoting it as well. So I'm not
Minister-
really sure what the point of your
Minister,
question is,
one of the most effective
Chair.
ways we have to help Canadians, is it not true that, again, well, why didn't you include cigarettes in that? Why did you not reduce the taxes on them? Why would you, as a member who represents mental health and addictions in the failing government, think that that's a good idea on behalf of Canadians to reduce the GST on beer, wine, and ready-to-drink alcoholic drinks? Explain that to Canadians. It's a simple question.
Through you, Chair, I believe I've answered the question with regards to the GST tax break for Canadians in addressing needs of affordability. Our Office of the Mental Health and Addictions, as well as Associate Minister of Health, is to ensure that we provide resources for prevention and so that Canadians can make healthy choices no matter what they eat or consume.
But Minister.
And this is the
did-
work
did
that we
your-
do at the
excuse
federal
me,
government.
If I might, did your department have any input into this policy? Did you know this was going to happen, or did they do it behind your back?
The GST tax holiday for Canadians is to address affordability.
That's not what I asked you. I said, did your department, as Mental Health and Addictions, have any input into the temporary tax trick, or did they do it behind your back?
As the member well knows, cabinet competence is that, and the decision was to provide a tax holiday to Canadians.
So clearly, on behalf of Canadians, you would like to see them drinking more alcohol. That being said, Minister, what about the other parts of the temporary tax trick? We know that Canadians are having difficulty affording food. Your government supported a private member's bill, C-252, that actually wanted to reduce advertising to kids, and now you're out there saying that children, it's okay because we've reduced the taxes on it. You should eat chips and candy and coated popcorn and curls and twists, etc. Is that something, again, inside your portfolio that you agree with, Minister? Yes or no? It's not a difficult question.
So through you, Chair, it seems now that Conservatives seem to think that the tax is perhaps good, or that we should be evaluating this as public policy and how it relates to the price on pollution. I'm not really sure
I
where
guess, Minister, what
Conservatives
I'm asking
stand
you to
on
do,
ensuring Chair, I do believe
Minister,
that I have
excuse me,
the floor.
I'm just going to interrupt you there.
I do believe I
You know, I
have the
think,
floor,
I think
Chair.
the big thing is, Chair, is that,
Minister, there's about 10 seconds left in this round, so make your
yeah,
point.
I guess the question is, Minister, is why would you, as the Minister for Mental Health Addictions, support encouraging Canadians with unhealthy behavior? Sadly, Minister, that's your job. Sadly, it appears you don't know that.
Take 15 seconds to respond, Minister, please.
Sadly, Conservatives don't seem to believe that Canadians should have a tax break. So again, outrage is big but weak on action. Thank you, Chair.
Ms. Kayabaga, over to Mr. Doherty, please, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minister, why is there no funding for a national suicide prevention strategy in the fall economic update?
The National Suicide Framework was launched in May and the work is ongoing.
Minister, I just asked a question. Why is there no funding mentioned for a national suicide prevention strategy in the fall economic update? There's no funding.
As I mentioned, there is resources and work that is being done that is ongoing.
Minister, do you have a mandate letter?
Yes,
Has it been published?
it is the same mandate letter I've had since entering my office and position in 2023.
So can you state for us what your priorities are?
Chair, I do believe that my mandate letter is public and that he can reference it there. If he wishes to have it tabled to the committee, we can do that.
Minister, is part of your mandate letter to establish a permanent ongoing mental health transfer?
Again, Chair, I'm here to answer questions on the supplemental B estimates. If that is a relevant question, I'm happy to answer it.
Minister, is also part of your mandate letter to sustain improved access to virtual mental health services with Wellness Together Canada?
Wellness Together was a program that was established during COVID to meet the needs of Canadians.
But is that part of
during
your
the
mandate letter?
crisis. Again, Chair, is this relevant to the supplemental B estimates?
You tie the question to the estimates, Mr. Doherty, please.
Well, it all deals with spending of the government, Mr. Speaker, and if they're not mentioned in the fall economic statement, I believe it's something that the minister should report on.
It's fair game for Mr. Doherty to ask you why something isn't in the SUPs and get you to respond to that. So if you can answer the question, please do.
So thank you, and through you, Chair, what I will say is that my office is responsible to continue to respond to the needs of Canadians when it comes to mental health services. And the commitments that we made in Budget 2024, including the Youth Mental Health Fund and the Emergency Treatment Fund, are the priorities that in this budget cycle that we are placing emphasis on. That doesn't mean that we abandon other parts of the service system.
But if it's
However,
not, but Minister,
Chair, I'm answering the question if the member
I
would
believe she's
allow
over
me to
time.
finish.
Mr. Doherty?
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead, Mr. Doherty.
Minister, your government promised a 4.5 billion annual Canadian mental health transfer during the 2021 election. Was that promise abandoned?
The funding flow from that commitment has continued until its completion, but what we understood was that working with jurisdictions and understanding their needs in mental health meant that we had a renewed strategy through the bilateral agreements through a mental health priority.
Minister, you've referenced a couple times as a mother, meeting people where they are. This is a final question. It's probably the last time I get a chance to ask you any questions in 2024, perhaps maybe even, who knows, in this government. I mean, only the future time will tell. This has bothered me for some time, and I want to give you an opportunity here. Do you regret shaking hands with Mahmoud Abbas?
Point of order, Chair.
Yes, Ms.
That's fair game.
Kayabaga?
Minister.
Point of order, Chair.
Yes, Ms. Kayabaga?
That's inappropriate as a question, and it does not match with what we're studying today.
Point of
To
order?
agree unless you can find a way
Point of
to-
order?
Point of order. Point of order.
Unless you can find a way to tie that to the estimates. Go ahead, Mr. Johns. Yes, on a point of order?
That's where I was going to go. This has absolutely nothing to do with the estimates. It's just completely out of line.
Point of order?
Ms.
On this
Goodrich,
point
on
of
a
order.
point of order.
I believe that the minister was actually there on official government business, and therefore it is relevant to the spending of the government. And so I believe if you let Mr. Doherty continue, you will understand how this is relevant.
Point of order,
Let
Chair.
Mr. Doherty continue if he wants to ask a question that is tied to the estimates.
Minister,
So
Chair-
far, I don't
Chair-
think it is, but
Chair, if you will allow, the minister has referenced time and again being a mother, and has made comments about Conservatives not being, if you allow, on the trip, when they know that I was the member that was supposed to be on that trip, but I was at my mother's deathbed and supporting her
Point of
through
order, Chair.
her end of life.
yes, Ms. Kayabaga?
No, you
can't point of
order.
Point of order,
So,
Chair.
and so finally.
No, he's apparently asking a question.
So
You
finally-
attend- Ms. Kayabaga has a point of
Thank
order.
you, Chair.
I recognize Ms. Kayabaga. Ms.
Chair,
Kayabaga, go ahead,
I have
please.
the floor. Thank you. Chair, I don't understand where his question is going. He's talking about his personal mother. He's talking about a trip. He's talking about shaking hands with people. This has nothing to do with the estimates. Either we stick to the estimates or we
Chair.
call it a day.
Okay, I want to hear Mr. Doherty's question. The question that he has asked about shaking of hands, I think there was a valid point of order raised. I asked him to tie it to the estimates. I think he's trying to do that. Mr. Doherty, please.
So the point is, Mr. Chair, is that the minister has sat here for the last 45 minutes. She's made a number of assertions against the Conservative government without knowing any background or perhaps not caring about the background. And so I think it is relevant when we have a minister of the Crown that is traveling on taxpayers' funds and somebody that is a proud Jewish member of the cabinet, whose daughter she introduced, who served And so she has also referenced that throughout her testimony, that she's a mother. And she's brought that into her testimony. And so through you, Mr. Chair, I will ask her, I can't imagine that was a proud moment or an easy moment.
Point of order,
Okay,
Chair.
Mr. Doherty, the question is out of order and you are out of time. I recognize Dr. Hanley, please, for
You
the
wanna
next
give her a
5 minutes.
chance?
Chair, I called a point of order.
Nope. Your question's out of order and you are out of time.
Chair, I
Dr.
did
Hanley,
call a
please.
point of order.
You have a point of order,
I
Ms.
did have a
Kayavaga,
point
go
of
ahead.
order. I called a point of order on the outrageous comment our colleague just made and borderline offensive to our minister, and I hope that he can apologize.